Hey guys, it's Naja with Tangled Roots Research, back with another installment of our genealogy blog. Today we are talking about DNA results once you get them in. Last week we talked about how to make the decision on whether or not you're going to do a DNA test to kind of find out more about your ancestry. So now you've done the test, what do you do next? My recommendation is to work on your family tree, because when you get those results, the only way you're going to know how these people are connected to you is if you have a really robust, expansive family tree. So make your tree as broad as you can. So when I say broad, I mean looking at the siblings of each of your ancestors and their descendants. Make it as wide as possible. So not just your parents, grands, great-grands, and straight up your ancestry, but looking at aunts, uncles, cousins, great aunts, great uncles, and so on, and down from the sides of their tree as well. That way you have a better foundation to help match people when you do eventually get your matches back. If you do an autosomal DNA test like we talked about with Ancestry or 23andMe or MyHeritage or one of these other sites, you're going to get an admixture or an ethnicity estimate normally presented to you in a pie chart where you'll see a circle with different colored sections that tell you this percentage of your DNA matches this region or country, and so on and so forth. Some people only have ancestry from 1 or 2 countries. Some may have it from 10, 12 countries or regions. So it can be really interesting and fascinating to look at where your ancestors originated from. Another thing to understand is that you should expect to have thousands of matches. The percentage of connection you share with someone is often broken down into a unit of measurement called a centimorgan. Its initial is lowercase c and a capital M. So the highest that you're going to see is around 3,500. That indicates a parent or an identical sibling. Everything below that can be any other relationship to you. Some websites even go down as far as about 5 centimorgans and show you people who share that small amount of DNA with you. But the higher results obviously are people who are more closely connected to you. So when you take these tests and you get the results, you may find someone in that second cousin range or first cousin range, or maybe even closer, a sibling that you didn't know existed. So in order to help you figure out how you're connected to them, you can look at your shared matches. So if I know that this is my mother's cousin, then I at least know if I share my mother's cousin that I know with this unknown person, that person is probably on my mom's side. And even further, if I know that the cousin we share is on my maternal grandmother's side, I've narrowed it down even a bit more as to how this person is connected to me. So the more detail you can add to your tree is definitely going to help you figure out who these matches are. Something that's important to note is that at every level of centimorgans that you're connected, there's more than one relationship that's possible. So for example, around 1700 could be a grandparent or a grandchild, an aunt, uncle, niece, or nephew, or even a half sibling. So one relationship is not always going to be the exact answer. So there's multiple possibilities. And again, having a tree that you can go back to and try to connect these individuals is going to be really critical. If you test it on Ancestry, you can see the trees that your matches have created, which absolutely helps you in connecting their tree with yours. Now, what makes really a pretty big difference is the accuracy of your tree. Now, are you going to know if your tree is accurate? No. The DNA is going to tell you what's accurate, but the documentation may not line up with that. I'll give you a personal example. My maternal grandmother was not raised by her biological father, and there are no records that connect them. not her birth certificate or death certificate, and she was never in a census with him. But because of our oral family history and the knowledge that has been passed down, we know who her biological father is. So if I didn't have that and I was relying exclusively on records, some of my matches wouldn't make sense. But since I know that, I know my connection to that side of my family, and I'm able to understand these matches that I have that fall into that branch of the family. So understand that oral family history may be accurate or it may be inaccurate. Documents may be accurate or they may be inaccurate. And the same is true for the trees that your matches create. They've done the best that they can with what they've known to be true and what they've researched and found. So you may not find the magic branch that crosses from their tree over to yours if one of you has inaccurate information. But what you can do is use your shared matches and use a centimorgan relationship chart to narrow down where this person should fit in your family. And one thing that can definitely impact that is if there's overlap. So I said, if I know that this person is connected to my maternal grandmother's side, then I know where they should fit. However, what if there's overlap? Some people have very distant overlap as a result of formerly enslaved ancestors that were in the same area or maybe a part of the same family that was torn apart during the time of slavery and may have ended up in different locations but still passed down some of those DNA components to their descendants. Another way to get overlap is endogamy, which we're going to stop here and I'm going to talk to you about that next week. We're going to get really honest and really serious and talk about endogamy, which may be a term you've never heard, but I'm sure you've heard of kissing cousins. So come back next week and we're going to talk about it. Until then, we're always searching. If you need us, we are at Tangled Roots Research on Facebook and on Instagram. Have a great week.